Greetings. Welcome to the Sunday Driver. Today we're looking at the BMW M235i with a manual transmission. First question we have to ask ourselves is, what kind of car is this? Is this a sports car? Is this a muscle car? Well, after extensive driving, I've come to the conclusion that this is a grand touring car with some sporting intentions. It's basically a German equivalent to a Ford Mustang, even in performance. The BMW will do a quarter mile in 13.1 seconds, Ford Mustang EcoBoost in 13.9, and a V8 Mustang in 12.8. So it's just a little bit slower than the V8 Mustang, which is pretty good in my books. And of course you get the German refinement, it's German technology. But all is not good in BMW land. This car was a major disappointment for me in several areas. So stick around, we're about to tear this car a new one. Let's start off with the biggest problem in this BMW, and that is the steering feel. There is no steering feel, zero. I'm sure that every other car on the road has better steering feel than this car. When you drive it, it's not a two-way conversation. There's no feedback coming back from the road. You really have no idea how hard you're pushing or how close to the limits of grip you are. The steering is good on the input side. It's direct, it's quick. I think it's only 2.2 turns lock to lock, whatever that means. So when I was pushing the car a little bit, the steering didn't really hold me up. As the tires are so good, they pretty much have infinite amount of grip. And I didn't really, I'm sure I would have liked to have more feedback from the road, but I didn't feel that it held me up that much. Where it really bugged me is just at regular driving, when I'm going down the road and even going straight or making some lane changes. It'd be nice to get a little information from the wheel, especially in the winter time or when it gets rainy and wet. The steering wheel is too fat and too squishy. It's too thick. You can't get your hands around it properly at the 9 and 3. You can't have relaxed hands because you can't get a good grip on it. You end up doing some weird kind of claw thing to hang on. And for the life of me, I can't understand why they insulated the steering wheel with this squishy material. I really don't think we need another level of insulation between the steering wheels and my hands. The steering is such a disappointing thing about this car, with a combination of zero road feel and M Sport steering wheel, which is too fat and it's too squishy. It really eliminates this car for me. I would not consider it based on the steering wheel alone. In fact, I was thinking about the BMW M3 or M4, and then I saw that it has the same steering wheel as this M235i. I said, no thanks. Well, they haven't been completely asleep in Munich. There is some good in this car, and the highlight for me was the chassis and suspension tuning. It really soaks up bumps and undulations with great composure, yet you get a good ride. Very controlled body roll and brake dive. This is really the right combination for me regarding comfort and sport. Roads that would make you cringe in a true sports car, you really have to slow down. You don't bat an eye in this car. You can just keep on a trucking at a good rate of speed. It soaks up all the bumps. It doesn't feel floaty. It doesn't feel floaty. It doesn't lean too much. The suspension tuning is really a highlight. The tires, another highlight. Michelin Pilot Sports. Wow. Dry, wet. There is no holding these tires back. Just a crazy amount of grip. On the roads, I don't think I ever got close to the limit. I couldn't get the tires to squeal at all. Let's talk about the engine. What can I say about the engine? It's competent. It pulls right to the red line, which is great for a turbo engine. But it's not really extraordinary. It doesn't make you write love sonnets about it. It doesn't get you very excited, if you know what I mean. It feels like a V6 engine with a bit of a lazy throttle response. The turbo lag, your mileage might vary. I don't think it's too noticeable, but it just feels more like a lazy throttle response when you get on the engine. The engine has 4 different drive modes: Eco, Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. And of course, with every different mode, you get different throttle mapping. So it's lethargical in Eco, and Sport Plus is your best bet, for responsiveness. But it still feels a little lazy. You can really tell that the engine note is electronically enhanced. With the engine under load and you're cycling through drive modes, the engine note instantly changes. And it's kind of funny because there's no way mechanical valve and exhaust would move back quickly. So you know exactly that it's a lot of the noise is coming from the speakers. I would like to try the car I had the standard exhaust, but I would like to try the M Performance exhaust to see if it gives the engine a little bit more soul, if it kind of wakes it up a little bit. Another thing I think is pretty much a must in this car, highly recommended, will be an aftermarket tune, just to give the engine a little more urgency and a little more character. Let's talk about the transmission. My car had the manual transmission, which I normally prefer, although this car was lacking the auto rev match, the auto blip function, which I think pretty much all manuals should have going forward. But never mind. Let's focus on the clutch and the shifter itself. The clutch and the shifter, it all got the job done, but it never felt particularly rewarding. The clutch is kind of vague. You never really know where it's engaging. It works, but it doesn't. There's not a lot of feedback. There's some chatter on the forums, BMW forums, about the clutch delay valve. I guess BMW has been putting this delay valve into the clutch line for about the last 10 years. You can remove it apparently, you can delete it, and it will bring back some of the clutch feel. The shifter itself is fine, but again didn't feel particularly rewarding. Kind of long throws. I never stalled the car, so which is good. It's easy enough to drive, but I was not happy with the 1 to 2 shift speed or quality. I found I couldn't really get smooth and as quick as I would have liked. Now, for the first time driving a manual transmission, I was actually wondering if an automatic transmission might be a better option for this car. And with the automatic, you also get 8 speeds versus 6 in the manual. I found the gear ratios a bit oddly spaced. Gears 1 through 3 seemed quite widely spaced, and then 4, 5, and 6 were more closely spaced. It didn't really seem to matter if you're in 4 or 5 for your acceleration or your engine RPM. Another thing I noticed is quite a bit of road noise on the highway, like when you go on 100 km/h plus, which is kind of not really ideal for a Grand Tour car like this. I blame the tires. It's very sporty tires on a car that doesn't really maybe need such sporty tires, and I believe it's contributing to the road noise. Speaking of tires, perhaps there is such a thing as too much grip, especially in the rear tires. I didn't find the car too playful in nature when you're making turns in the city. I like to get on the gas a little bit as you're turning, and just get a touch of oversteer and feel the car rotate under throttle. And this car didn't really seem to do that. You could get it to rotate, but you really had to get on the throttle, like a lunatic, and it's just not feasible in everyday driving. I would prefer a little rotation under gas, just to make you feel like you're driving a proper rear-wheel drive car. Let's talk about tech in the car. For the most part, I liked quite a few things about the technology. I liked the front and rear backup sensors with backup camera. The navigation system was pretty good once you got it programmed. I got lots of situational awareness approaching intersection. I mentioned street names. Although I think the one feature this car didn't have was a head-up display, and I think that would be nice. If it's an option, I would like to get the head-up display. I think it would make the navigation instructions even better if you can just read it right on your windshield, what street you're turning on and distance to go and so forth. Really not a fan of the iDrive interface, though. It feels clunky, and I swear it must be programmed by lawyers. Every time you start the car, you have to agree to a legal statement that you're not going to operate the nav during driving. And I feel the car needs more direct entry keys instead of scrolling through menus. So for example, if you want to bring up the fuel economy info, you have to go into the menu, scroll around, push buttons. Why just not have more pre-programmed keys that you can just push to cut down on the scrolling? Speaking of scrolling, pop question there. Let's say you're driving around, you're trying to zoom into the map. Let's say you want to look at some details, you want to zoom in. Which way should you twist the M-Drive controller? Which way should you twist the knob? Clockwise or counterclockwise? What about if you want to zoom out? Which way should you twist the knob? I bet you guys said clockwise for zooming in and counterclockwise for zooming out, just as if you're driving a screw or a nut. Clockwise for in, counterclockwise for out. Well, BMW and their iDrive did it completely backwards. If you want to zoom out, you twist the iDrive controller clockwise. So every time I went to zoom the map, it hurt my brain, and I thought about what's the logical way, and then did the opposite. I'm sure you get used to it after a while. It seems backwards. I hear Audi got it right though. So I finally know why BMW drivers don't like to use turn signals. Because this turn signal stocks are a pain in the ass to use. I guess turning them on is not the problem. It's the canceling that can be a bit of a problem. They don't really have a middle position where it's off. It's either turning right or turning left. It's some kind of weird way to cancel them. Anyways, I'm sure, if you own a car, you'd figure it out. It'd all be normal. But again, why reinvent the wheel or the turn signal stock? Why not have a middle position which is off? When you get in the car, you got to reach over your shoulder and grab the seat belt. It's a little bit hard to reach. I remember the coupes used to have a little plastic bit that would reach forward and hand you the seat belt. I thought that was a nice touch. Whatever happened to that? The seats are highlight in the car. They're comfortable enough, they're supportive enough for cornering. The lumbar support never felt right for me though. It always felt like it was, even though it's adjustable up and down, I never could feel like it positioned in just the right spot. So for the most part, I just left it uninflated. I think that's an option. It's a $300 option, lumbar support. And I probably wouldn't get it because I didn't use it. Well, let's wrap up this review. What do I think of the M235i? Ultimate driving machine? I don't think so. But I don't think adequate driving machine loaded with lots of tech has the same cachet. The good thing is it's a capable Grand Tourer. It has some pretty good sporting intentions if you do find some twisty bits in your Grand Tour. It is an Insurance Institute for Highway Safety top safety pick, which is great, because why not get a car that crash tests well for your money? Not all BMWs are top safety picks, and Porsche doesn't even test theirs, at least not publicly, so you never know what you're getting. The car is also proper wheel drive. That's rear wheel drive, although I understand 4Motion or all-wheel drive is coming for the M235i. So would I recommend this car? Yeah, sure I would. If it's your needs. I remember the biggest issue I had was that big fat steering wheel with zero feedback and a bit of an iDrive program by lawyers. But if none of that bugs you, I think it could be a good car.